Hey everyone. So, the world of politics is going wild over the release of the Epstein files and all the big influential figures that were involved in his schemes. And in crypto, we have the reveal of what happened on October 10th, 2025, and who's allegedly behind all of the crypto decoupling since the events and the billions in liquidations that have happened ever since. The recent drama surrounding Binance and its founder, also known as CZ in the space, centers on recent allegations that the exchange played a major and primary role in the massive crypto market crash on October 10th, 2025, labeled as the 1010 event. Now, for those unfamiliar, this flash crash triggered around 19 billion in liquidations across the industry in minutes, wiped out significant capital, and caused Bitcoin and other assets to get nuked. And this is just from the liquidations that are recorded and known of. Now, many sources say that the liquidations are actually far above what was reported, some claiming liquidations as high as $40 billion once the dust has settled. I mean, I remember this day very vividly. I was done with a client at work. I went to go check my phone, check the crypto prices, and everything went from minus 15 to minus 70 in the red in minutes. Not even joking. Transferred some cash as quick as I could to buy more, but took a while before the exchange actually allowed me to buy. And by then, a lot of the market crash had already retraced. This huge liquidation event is what contributed to ongoing bearish momentum into 2026, with Bitcoin dropping from the highs of around 125K to what prices are now, hovering in the 70s and the 80s, every green wick being quickly sold. Now, some critics, including prominent figures in the space like Exchange OKX's Starzu and even ARK Invest's Cathie Wood, have pointed fingers at Binance. They claim internal issues like glitches in the unified account system, which reportedly valued collateral using internal data instead of external oracles, pretty much pointing to the fact that crypto is just priced by these exchanges based off of vibes and not actually natural supply and demand dynamics, just whatever exchanges feel is appropriate from internal data. There was delayed rebalancing, thin liquidity during high volume, and the cherry on top of the story, criminal manipulation exacerbated or allegedly caused by CZ and Binance. Some went further, accusing the platform of structural harvesting, which is said to be CZ taking money and massive shares to list hyped meme coins and other tokens that later tanked, or coordinated dumps to liquidate leveraged positions. After all coins listed on Binance are collectively down 80% since being launched on the platform. Basically, people who launched coins paid CZ and Binance to list their coins, and part of payment would be a large share of the available tokens, which Binance would go on to dump on the market and crash many tokens months or weeks after launching. Now, CZ has pushed back hard in recent AMAs, X Spaces, Binance Square, and X. He called the blame far-fetched and attributed the crash to external macro shocks like tariff announcements under President Trump, what a scapegoat that only, that one's never been used before, high leverage across the market, and vanishing liquidity, but not any deliberate action by Binance. He denies personal or exchange level manipulation, emphasized that both he and Binance hold Bitcoin long-term and not for short-term trading, and labeled much of the backlash as coordinated FUD, from paid accounts or salty traders refusing to take responsibilities for their losses. But here's where CZ's story goes completely off the rails. Here he is talking about how the FUD around him and his company is why crypto is going down, pretty much insinuating indirectly without actually admitting it that he does in fact control the market and he will continue nuking it if people continue to hurt his feelings. Listen to this.
To be honest, a couple of weeks ago, I was pretty positive about the Bitcoin super cycle, but right now, given all the FUD and all the emotions that was stirred up in the community, I'm less confident about it now. That's to be very frank, because the more FUD you kick up and the more you get all the community riled up, it does have negative effects. And also, basically right now, I think we're living in a very turbulent time globally.
Yes.
And globally, geopolitically, etc. It's very hard to predict what's going to happen next.
Yes.
Right. So I think fundamentally, there's going to be very high volatility.
Now, Justin Wu here put it perfectly. If a super cycle can be canceled by crypto Twitter, what exactly was driving it in the first place? Supercycle timeline is interesting. CZ was calling for a supercycle everywhere, posts, interviews, nonstop confidence, and then January 30th, supercycle is canceled. And the reason behind that is people on crypto Twitter started fudding him. You see the problem now? Let us not forget that CZ served time in prison for money laundering at Binance. And coincidentally, right after being pardoned by the President of the United States, crypto began its largest deviation from all other asset classes. Many people screaming that Binance crime season is upon us. What a coincidence. And while we're at it, why don't we mention his X posts where he said, crypto supercycle, at the exact recent top in like 92, 95K before we nuked another leg lower. Or how CZ said Binance was going to buy $1 billion of Bitcoin onto its balance sheet to support crypto holders. And what did he do the next day? Literally the next day, he dumped $1 billion of Bitcoin on an illiquid Saturday. And by Sunday, has dumped already $2.2 billion worth of Bitcoin alone. That doesn't include the ETH or the SOL sales either. But of course, you could blow all this off as just, social media drama being stirred up and being made bigger than it actually is. And then the owner of the OKX exchange chimed in. Here he says, no complexity, no accident. 1010 was caused by irresponsible marketing campaigns by certain companies. On October 10th, tens of billions of dollars were liquidated. As CEO of OKX, we observed clearly that the crypto market's microstructure fundamentally changed after that day. Many industry participants believe the damage was more severe than the FTX collapse in 2022. Now, since then, there has been extensive discussion about why it happened and how to prevent a reoccurrence. The root causes are not difficult to identify. Now, Starr goes on to say in exact order the events of 1010 and how they probably unfolded. And here says what actually happened. Number one, Binance launched a temporary user acquisition campaign offering 12% annual yield on USDE while allowing USDE to be used as collateral with the same treatment as USDT and USDC and without effective limits. Now, USDE is a tokenized hedge fund product. Athena raises capital via a so-called stablecoin, deploys it into index arbitrage and algorithmic trading strategies, and tokenizes the resulting fund. The token can then be deposited on exchanges to earn yield. Now, USDE is fundamentally different from products such as BlackRock's BUIDL and Franklin Templeton's Benji, which are tokenized money market funds with low risk profiles. And USDE, by contrast, embeds hedge fund level risk. This difference is structural, not just cosmetic. Number 4, Binance users were encouraged to convert USDT and USDC into USDE to earn attractive yields without sufficient emphasis on the underlying risks. From a user's perspective, trading with USDE appeared no different from trading with traditional stablecoins, while the actual risk profile was materially higher. And number 5, risk escalated further as users converted USDT and USDC into USDE, used USDE as collateral to borrow USDT, converted the borrowed USDT back into USDE, and repeated the cycle. This leverage loop produced artificial APYs of 24, 36, and even 70+%, widely perceived as low risk, simply because they were offered by a major platform. Systemic risk accumulated rapidly across the global crypto market. Now, number 6, at that point, even a small market shock was sufficient to trigger a collapse. When volatility hit, USDE depegged really quick, cascading liquidations followed, and weaknesses in risk management around assets such as WETH and BNSOL further amplified the crash. Some tokens briefly traded near zero. The damage to global users and companies, including OKX customers, was severe, and recovery will take time. So there was that. And of course, no answer from CZ other than we have nothing to do with this. It's just market dynamics. Not that it's Binance, dumping client funds to drop the price so we can buy back assets at a lower price while liquidating our leveraged customers. And then this bombshell dropped. But before we get into the bombshell of the story, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. Thank you. Now, an X thread from Justin Sun's ex-girlfriend. As you may or may not know, Justin Sun was the owner or the creator, whatever you want to call him, of the Tron TRX blockchain. Now, he was recently let go by the US authorities on crimes for money laundering and market manipulation. Funny how this all happens around the same time. First, CZ manipulates markets and gets arrested for being the reason behind the fall of FTX in 2022. Now, CZ allegedly ratted out Justin Sun to the authorities, and magically Justin Sun and CZ now gets a pardon from the US government, and their investigations dropped. Extremely fishy, to say the least. Now back to Justin Sun's ex-girlfriend, who's also known as 1010. I mean, there must be a god, because there's no way that life is this ironic. 1010 comes out of hiding from knowing about this insider information for years, right after a major crypto manipulation crash on 1010. Like, come on, life has to be a simulation or something. This is crazy. So anyways, 1010 says in the first of many tweets that I am in possession of evidence showing that he, meaning Justin Sun, used the identities and mobile phones of multiple employees to register numerous Binance accounts through which he conducted coordinated buying and selling on the Binance exchange to artificially inflate the price of TRX, followed by large-scale selling to dump on retail investors, thereby obtaining enormous illegal profits. I'm willing to fully cooperate with an SEC investigation and to submit all relevant WeChat chat records, as well as evidence provided to me by his employees proving his market manipulation activities. I request that the US judicial authorities contact me, and I respectfully ask that this information be forwarded as widely as possible. Now, 1010 goes on in multiple other posts here. This next one reads, "The reason I exposed him is that I devoted my own future to his career." Again, talking about Justin. "The man who once promised to marry me later at a recent public event openly boasted to CZ that he was dating a well-known athlete. Now, subsequently, at a private dinner with prominent figures from the Chinese cryptocurrency industry, he announced that he was in a relationship with the famous Chinese-American skier, Aileen Gu. The way he handled our breakup was brutal and cruel, utterly devoid of any human decency, and he is immensely wealthy, and I may very well pay a heavy personal price for speaking out. For a long time, I lived in fear of such power and authority, my heart filled with hesitation and cowardice. Yet I watched as a man who built his fortune by ruthlessly exploiting retail investors and laundering money for illicit networks transformed him into a tycoon. He could publicly declare a relationship with Aileen Gu. He could invest in the digital currency projects of a US presidential figure in exchange for his own protection. He could use money to manufacture endless online praise celebrating his so-called successes. He could spend tens of millions of dollars to travel to space, millions more to dine with Warren Buffett, and boast on X that he was willing to spend $3 million per hour just for a meeting with Elon Musk. Before my eyes, a man who once dreamed of changing the world as a hero turned into an insurmountable gate of corruption and wrongdoing. I hate his ruthlessness, and I regret even more that I once helped fuel his rise. Wish to confess before God and to correct the wrongs I have been a part of. I no longer want to live in fear. I only have life, and I choose not to remain silent." And then the post that made things pretty serious, 1010 says, "I cherish life. I love my 2 dogs. I am building my own business in Japan and working extremely hard. I will not commit suicide. I know that I am in a very dangerous situation at this moment, but I hereby solemnly state that I will never take my own life. All evidence has been copied multiple times and securely preserved, including copies stored and shared with several influential friends of mine on X. If anything happens to me, they will step forward immediately to defend my rights on my behalf. I grew up in an ordinary family in China. I've lived my life with diligence, putting in efforts beyond what most people can imagine to earn the decent life I have today. I am just an ordinary person who wants a happy life, but I refuse to hand this world over to those who do evil, and even if the cost were my life, what would that amount to?" Now, she goes on to give more information about how Justin Sun and CZ have embezzled and stolen money to make their enormous wealth in such a short period of time. Keep in mind, neither of these individuals were worth anything before crypto exchanges became mainstream. So here, 1010 goes on to say, "In response to my report, he disseminated a large amount of false information and malicious defamatory content targeting me through Chinese language KOLs, which KOL stands for key opinion leaders or just influencers, with whom he has maintained long-term cooperation. A significant portion of Influencers in the Chinese crypto space are, in fact, anonymous signal calling accounts. They work closely with project teams to release so-called calls when a price pump is nearing its end. Once these calls are issued, large numbers of retail investors buy in, after which the project teams begin dumping and harvesting profits. Many projects founded by Chinese founders operate in exactly this way. These KOLs typically sign annual framework agreements and non-disclosure agreements with project teams with fees ranging from $100 to 20,000 USD per post or collaboration. When a project or its founders encounter a public relations crisis, these KOLs hide behind anonymous accounts to smear, discredit, and frame those who speak out. Meanwhile, countless retail investors are driven into bankruptcy, left with nowhere to seek help, and subjected to further humiliation on top of their financial losses. And by contrast, these KOLs make enormous profits through PR fees, insider information, and commission kickbacks. They have formed a symbiotic ecosystem with exchanges and project teams. Retail investors, the most vulnerable participants in the system, are completely excluded, left isolated at the primary targets of the deception and exploitation. Now, Tencent goes on to say, gossip about me is not particularly important. It is far more important to focus on the issues I'm trying to address. Many people are curious about how he was able in early 2018 to transform himself from an unknown entrepreneur into a centi-billion level billionaire. As a result, the Chinese internet has produced countless analyses of his early words and actions, attempted to find evidence of so-called genius and to recreate his success. In reality, however, the entirety of his wealth originated from harvesting the cryptocurrencies he himself issued. Though through media hype and publicity, he increased his visibility and attracted attention, drawing more retail investors to spend real money buying the digital assets he issued. In many cases, project teams even collaborated with capital pools and Ponzi-style operations to artificially drive up token prices, jointly harvesting retail investors and then splitting the profits with those capital pools. He arranged for his employees to use his own identity documents to open accounts on the Binance exchange, complete KYC verification, and gradually sell the virtual assets he had issued. By harvesting retail investors in this manner, he achieved his leap in social and economic class. There were no forward-looking ideas, no theories worthy of admiration. His success was built solely on ruthless harvesting again and again, and on an insatiable, bottomless greed for money. He appointed Wang Bingyu, the company's chief steward, to coordinate with employees. After employees provided their personal identification information, Wang Bingyu registered accounts on cryptocurrency exchanges. Zhang Ying, Yang Keishan, and Yu Defei were responsible for selling the project's issued virtual assets through these exchange accounts. Wow. The lesson today, ladies and gentlemen, is that no one in life, and I mean no one, will take you down harder than an ex-girlfriend. Hell hath no fury. Now, for the final dish, here it is. 1010 says, the following individuals are all his employees. Their identity, information, email accounts, exchange accounts, and related credentials were used in the above mentioned activities. For security reasons, all specific account credentials, obviously she doesn't share, but she will with anybody who reaches out from the authorities. So here is a list of all the people she talks about that have been involved with Justin Sun's wrongdoings, a list of all the accomplices and employees who were caught in the action of helping steal, embezzle, and who knows what other financial crimes. Now, of course, this is all alleged information. No one can actually verify this yet, but only time will tell. 1010 did go on to say that, though, note, all of the above individuals are his employees and are located in mainland China. I possess complete and original evidence reconstructing the entire process of his wealth accumulation, and I'm willing to provide it directly to relevant regulatory or investigative authorities under secure conditions. In addition, most of these individuals have now effectively been sent to Chinese prisons or detention centers by their employer under various pretexts. Wow. A lot to process there. And if this information turns out to be true, Justin Sun is done. He's going to be locked away forever, especially if he ends up serving somewhere other than the US where worse prisoner conditions exist. Now, finally, 1010 finishes off by retweeting her original post about Justin Sun and said the following: I'm not making empty accusations. I have a substantial amount of evidence, and what has been disclosed so far is only a very small portion of it. Justin Sun used the identities of multiple employees based in Beijing to operate accounts on the Binance exchange through which he manipulated the market capitalization of TRX. At the end of 2017 and the beginning of 2018, he carried out aggressive and large-scale cash-outs. The insider trading and predatory practices involving TRX on the Binance exchange are the source of his wealth. And I mean, if this turns out to be factually accurate, and she does in fact have evidence to put Justin away for a lifetime, imagine what kind of dirt there has to be on CZ hiding deep on the internet. If this happened on just one individual crypto chain, how many more Justin Suns are out there using Binance, aided by CZ fresh out of prison and fully immune through pardons by the US government to continue their crime unabated? It's actually very concerning. And of course, at the end of the day, all of this is still alleged, right? None of it is conclusive, but if it does end up being true, whew, man, we have a crime season that will make Enron look like a kiddie splash park. And unfortunately, that is the trend with new asset classes, with new technologies, with new anything. The hype creates a lot of opportunity, and unfortunately, a lot of bad actors take over and steal and launder and cheat the people who understand the future benefits of such new technology. This whole drama is the reason we need regulation in crypto, why structured market bills need to be passed in the US and other places around the world as quickly as possible, because until they are, this type of crime will continue to run rampant in crypto and will kneecap crypto from becoming a serious asset class for a long time. And the US justice system just continues to make it very obvious that we are living in a pay-to-play world, and it just doesn't help CZ and Justin Sun's case in any way. Donate enough money to the political cause of your choice and you will get a slap on the wrist. All of your crimes will be absolved. I mean, here you can see Timmy Shen talk about 3 House Democrats are pressing the SEC over its crypto enforcement retreat, demanding answers on why cases against Justin Sun, Binance, Coinbase, and Kraken have been dropped or paused. They say the timing and political donations point to an unmistakable pay-to-play scheme. Given the industry's history of investor harm and the clear mandate of the securities laws to protect market participants, this turn raises troubling questions about the SEC's priorities and effectiveness. Now, am I saying this to say that crypto is doomed and it's all over? No. This has happened before, it's happening again right now, and it's probably going to happen again in the future. But hopefully enough market structure bills get passed soon enough to make wash trading and such pump and dump pay-to-play schemes illegal, and crypto can be legitimized finally, run by regulated entities, not these gray area markets controlled by psychopaths. I mean to say that this is a speed bump in the crypto world, not a full damnation of it. There will be turbulence, but know that the industry will come out stronger after it. Now tell me, what do you guys think about this whole fiasco? I personally have never owned a Binance account for crypto. I've always steered clear because ever since CZ was caught manipulating markets and doing funny business with the exchange's money and holdings, I will never trust a crook. So fool me once, shame on you, but fool me twice, shame on me. And as always, if you've stuck around this long, go ahead and catch another one of my videos right over here, or check out my channel over here, where you can take a look at all the other content I have to offer about investing in my personal investing journey. And that's all for me today. I'm Patrick with Apex Wealth Collective. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.